Two countries, both on the edge of the North Sea. Both struck black gold beneath the waves in the late 60s. Both have a population of over 5 million. So why is Norway economically prosperous while Scotland is stagnating and struggling? Norway and Scotland share similar geographical features and histories, yet their economic trajectories diverge significantly. What if I told you it goes all the way back 3 centuries before?
Now, the Westminster establishment may think it can block a referendum, but let me be clear, I am sure on your behalf today, no establishment, Westminster or otherwise, will ever silence the voice of the Scottish people.
The Diary of Money.
Let's start with Norway, a country that stumbled upon wealth when oil was discovered in the North Sea in the 1960s. This discovery could have led to a boom and bust cycle, as it has in so many other oil-rich countries. But Norway chose a different path. Instead of spending all its newfound wealth immediately, it established the Government Pension Fund Global, or, as most people know it, the Oil Fund. This fund is now one of the largest sovereign wealth funds in the world, and its purpose is simple: to secure Norway's economic future. Only a small percentage of the fund's returns are used each year, which allows Norway to benefit from its oil income without exhausting it. With the oil fund as a financial safety net, Norway has been able to build one of the most comprehensive welfare states in the world. Universal healthcare, free education, generous parental leave, and well-funded pensions are all available to Norwegian citizens. Public infrastructure is modern and well-maintained, and the quality of life is high. Norway's investment in its people and its future has created a strong, stable society. Norway's sovereign wealth fund has grown to over $1.4 trillion. This fund not only supports Norway's economy, but also acts as a safety net during economic downturns, ensuring a stable flow of income for future generations. And this has left the people of Scotland saying, "What about us?"
While the UK faces years of austerity and public sector cuts, one of our European neighbours is looking forward to a far more prosperous future. Norway has been investing its oil wealth in its society's future since black gold first started pouring out of the North Sea in the 1970s. The fund is now so vast that it represents 1% of the value of all the world's stock markets. Douglas Fraser travelled to Norway to try to find out why they did something that maybe we should have done too.
Scotland, blessed with abundant natural resources, rugged landscapes, and an indomitable spirit, still finds itself struggling to stay afloat. The roots of this go all the way back to 1707 and the union with England. Back then, Scotland was in financial distress, seeking stability and prosperity, so they entered a union that promised shared wealth, access to broader trade, and more political stability. But when Scotland joined with England, it lost control over its own economy. Westminster, England's political centre, has had the final say on resource allocation, financial management, and industry priorities for over 300 years. Since then, Scotland's fate has been tied to decisions made hundreds of miles away. The discovery of North Sea oil should have been a turning point, a chance for economic transformation. Yet, without control over those revenues, Scotland couldn't fully leverage its own resources to build a better future. It's not just fiscal policy that sets these two countries apart. The currencies themselves play a major role in their differences. Norway uses its own currency, the Norwegian krone, and has control over its monetary policy through Norges Bank. The ability to control interest rates and manage inflation independently provides economic stability. Scotland uses the British pound and relies on the Bank of England for monetary policy decisions. Without control over its currency, Scotland has limited options for addressing economic challenges unique to its economy, reducing its flexibility in managing local inflation or stimulating growth. Years of stagnation have intensified the question of Scottish independence, a topic that stirs deep emotions and strong opinions across the nation. The debate over independence encompasses issues of national identity, economic autonomy, social policy, and Scotland's distinct cultural heritage.
I wanted to start a big picture question, and that is your take on the prospect of delivering independence for Scotland, whether coming to power early days of your premiership allows you to set expectations in a realistic way. Can independence be delivered within 5 years?
I think independence can be delivered in that timescale because the arguments for it are compelling. If we look at two of the biggest issues we face as a country in Scotland, the effect of the cost of living and the implications of Brexit, both of those major strategic factors that are doing severe economic and social damage to Scotland are because of decisions, bad decisions taken in Westminster, and independence is the answer to that. But I acknowledge that we have got work to do to build greater support for independence, to make that support level compelling within Scotland, and that's what my leadership will all be about.
Let's talk about the infamous Brexit. Brexit has intensified the Scottish independence movement, as many Scots feel that their choice to remain in the EU was disregarded. Scotland's former First Minister, Nicola Sturgeon, had argued that Brexit represents a material change in circumstances and has renewed calls for a second independence referendum. Proponents argue that an independent Scotland could rejoin the EU and regain economic stability and international partnerships. Brexit has heightened political tensions between Scotland's devolved government and the UK government. Scottish leaders feel they were not adequately consulted during Brexit negotiations, especially on issues impacting Scotland directly. Additionally, powers that were previously overseen by the EU and should have transferred to Scotland after Brexit have been partially retained by Westminster, sparking further frustration. Brexit has ended Scotland's participation in EU mobility programs like Erasmus, which allowed Scottish students to study abroad in Europe and vice versa. EU visitors to Scotland now face additional travel hurdles, impacting tourism, a significant part of the Scottish economy. This, combined with global travel disruptions, has affected local businesses, especially those in rural or culturally rich areas popular with European visitors. Importing goods from the EU has become more costly and complicated post-Brexit. This has led to price increases in various goods, from food to materials for construction. Combined with global inflationary pressures, this has further increased the cost of living for Scots, affecting households and businesses alike. Brexit has deeply affected Scotland, economically and politically. It has disrupted vital industries, strained public services, and impacted education and cultural exchange. As Scotland looks for answers for the future, maybe the answers are right in front of them, across the North Sea.